What's up guys, Andre here, and today I'd like to take a look at making static sites with Nuxt.js. There are a few popular libraries for making static sites in Vue, and I'd like to start off with Nuxt. Now, I already have a video on using Nuxt for building server-side rendered apps, which I will leave a link to in the description below if you are interested. A lot of the same principles apply here, since we're just generating static files, and it's actually much simpler. So what exactly is a static site? As the name implies, they are static, meaning you are just generating HTML with some CSS and JavaScript. They are generated beforehand, therefore are excellent for SEO, and are very easy to host. We'll take a look at hosting our project on Netlify after we finish it here. The most common use cases for statically generated sites are blogs, documentation sites, and maybe even a simple landing page. So let's go ahead and build out a simple blog together. So here's the blog I came up with, and we'll build this from scratch. Very straightforward. There's some static pages here, and there's different blog posts which are statically generated. And I even threw in a Markdown plugin which we can use, so you can write in Markdown. So let's go ahead and build this from scratch. Okay, so let's start off by installing it. Just use this command over here, npx create Nuxt app. So let's do that. I'm going to call it Nuxt static example. And let's just go through this. It's fine. None. And usually I'd put a linter on this, but when I did the original project, it was fine for the most part, but it was formatting my code in some instances where I didn't like it. So I'm just going to leave it off for now. And we don't need anything else. Obviously, we're going to use Tailwind because Tailwind is the best. None of that. We can just leave it at universal, and we'll just use npm. Cool. Okay, so that's done. We just have to go into it. Oops. Nuxt. And then run npm run dev. Okay, so here it is running in my browser. Let me just open it up in VS Code. Nuxt static, and let me open that up. So let me just remove all the styling because we're going to be using Tailwind here. So let me just go to pages, index. We're going to remove all this and all the styles. Just ignore this. And I don't need any of this. I'm not going to use that logo. And let's close that. And also there's some default CSS in the default template. Let me just save this. And then I'll remove this too. Okay. And that's good. Okay, so we should have a blank page, and we do. And here is where I'm going to put the header or the navigation. Did I close the page? Yeah, so I closed the demo already, but we're going to have just the logo here and some links here. So let me just quickly configure Tailwind. I want the container, so we have to uncomment that right here. Okay. And now back to the layout. I just want to do class equals container. I want font sans and black text for everything. And let me just see if I'm getting anything here. Okay, cool. And right here is the container I want for the navigation. So I'm going to do flex justify between and items center. And this, the first flex item will be, it's going to be a link. So I'm going to use Nuxt link, and it's going to go to the home page. So just like that. And we'll call it my awesome blog. And then the next flex item is going to be the actual menu, and we'll just have a few in here. Say flex, and by few I mean 2. So first one will be a Nuxt link. Let's make it go to /about. We'll make these pages in a second. Call about. And the other one will be called, say, team or something. And we'll do team. Okay, let's see if that looks decent. Okay. We'll fix up the styles in a second. So now we want to just have all of the blog posts here. So sort of like a blog role. So let's do that. So now this is going to be specific to the index page. And we can put a div in here. And we can just do ul li a. And we can put the name of the blog in here. So blog post 1. Actually, this should also be a Nuxt link. So Nuxt link and 2. So we'll also make pages for these. And I'll call this one, actually I'm going to put it in a folder called blog. And blog post 1 will be the name of the file. And let me just make sure this is a Nuxt link. Nuxt. Okay. And we can make, say, 4 of them. And let's just change these. Okay, so now that should render. It does. Now let's go ahead and make these other pages. So the way Nuxt works, or at least for static sites, is if we go down here, actually it's in the introduction section here. So if you look at this section for static generated, all it does is it takes your routes, and when we run the generate command, which we will later on when we finish the project, it will just generate everything in HTML. So with that being said, we can just generate the routes for these two and for all the blog posts. So let's do that. Let's start with these two. And I'm just going to go into pages, new file, say about.view. We can do template, say about page. And then we can just duplicate this. And then the other one, I think I named it team.view. And let's just change it to team page. And now this should work. There's the about page. So you can see the layout stays the same, but the contents change. And we can do the same thing for the blog posts. So let's go ahead and do that. So I made a folder. You don't have to make a folder. You can just put it in the pages folder if you like, but I'm going to make a new folder called blog. And then we can put those 4 blog posts in there. So actually I can just duplicate this. Name it blog post 1 and then put it in the blog folder. Yes. And then change the contents. Blog post content, and let's put some lorem text in here, say 30. Let's put a few more. Okay. And if we duplicate this, we can make 3 more. Okay, so let's see if this works. So all of these links should work now. This should go to blog post 1, and these should go to their specific posts. Awesome. Okay, so if you want to make use of Markdown, there is a official Nuxt Markdown module that we can make use of. So let me just install that, and then I'll show you how to use Markdown. So let's just npm install this. So we can do that here, npm install that. And then while that's going, we can just set the config option in Nuxt.js. So let's go back to our code, Nuxt config, modules. So right here. Okay. Save that. It's done. Cool. So let's take a look at how to use this. We can just leave the default config. So all we have to do is make a new view file, and then we can just set the language to Markdown, and then we can just use Markdown like normal. There's also ways to use MD files if you like, and you can just import them into your view component, but we'll just stick to this way. Okay, so let me first make a new blog post. Let's do it for 5. So 5 will be the Markdown, and let's also change the index to add 5. Okay, 5 here, and then let's set that lang equals md, and then we can just copy this, and let's see if it renders Markdown. Back to here, there's 5. And there we go. That is rendering the correct HTML for the Markdown. So let me just copy and paste some more Markdown here. So I already have it copied. I'm just going to paste it. It's just more elements of Markdown, like block quotes and itemized lists and this code block here and all this stuff. So let's see how that looks. Okay. So it does render it correctly, but there are no styles for them. So I found a library that has the minimum amount of CSS to replicate the GitHub Markdown style. So let's go ahead and use this. So we can npm install it or just use it from a CDN, which I will do here since it's a bit easier this way. I'm just going to grab this. And now, so let's go into our default view, default layout, and I'm going to import this. So I'm just going to do @import URL, and I'll paste that in, and I'll put a semicolon. Okay, but now we also have to go back. We have to wrap our code, or at least the Markdown we want, in this Markdown body class. And we have to add this CSS. So let me grab this CSS, paste it in here. And let's put this Markdown body class on this element right here. Markdown body. Okay, so let's see if this renders Markdown. Or it does render Markdown, but there it is right there. So the styles for GitHub flavored Markdown is added here. Cool. But if we look back at our other pages, it also added all the styles here, which you may want or you may not want. So for example, for some blog posts, you may want to use Markdown, for others you may not. So it's probably a good idea to have separate layouts for them, which I will show you now. So we have this default layout here, and I'm going to duplicate this and make another layout called blog. And I'm going to move everything we just put in default into this one. Actually, no, it's already that way. I'm going to remove some of the stuff we added here in default. So we don't want to add any of the CSS here. And we don't want this Markdown body class on this Nuxt element. We only want it for the layout for blog. So right now everything's going to go back to what it was before. Okay. And this won't have the styling for the Markdown. But for any Markdown related posts, we just have to go to the actual post and specify the layout here. So to do that, just open up your script tags and set the layout here. So in this case, we want the blog layout, and that should do it. There we go. So this one is using that CSS for the GitHub flavored Markdown, but all the other stuff is still the same, which we will style in a second so it doesn't look so ugly. Okay, so let's go ahead and generate all the static files we need to host this on a server. So all we have to do is run the generate command. So if you look in package.json, there is a generate command right here, which we can just run. So npm run generate. Let me stop this. And this will make all the necessary assets in a dist folder. Okay, so a dist folder was created. Let me just go into that and run a proper server here. I have an alias for server, which just runs a PHP server. And now we can just go into it. And it's basically what you just saw. It's just running on our own local server. And it still works. Cool. To the about page, the team page, and the Markdown still works. Awesome. Now let me show you how to host this on Netlify. So let me just stop this server and go up one. First thing I'm going to do is make a Git repo for this repository. And let me just commit everything. Blog first pass. And I'm just going to throw this up on GitHub. And I'm going to use the GitHub CLI, which I just started using recently, which is pretty awesome. So this is going to make a repo on GitHub for me named Nuxt static example, which is much faster than creating it manually in the GitHub website. So just do hub create, and that should do it. So there's the URL. And now let's go into Netlify. Okay, let me just log in. So there's two ways to do this. The easiest way is just to drag the dist folder in here, which I'll do. And that's it. That should work. So where's dist? Right here. Drag that in. And that should work. Let me just open this site that it generated for us. And there it is on the Netlify server. So this should work. This should work. Team. Blog post 1 and the Markdown works too. Awesome. But the more practical way is to use a Git repo and then set it up so that every time we push to the Git repo, Netlify automatically pulls it in and updates the website. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to delete this. Okay, so now I'm just going to do a new site from Git, and my GitHub is already connected, or not. Okay. Okay, so let's look for Nuxt. Okay, so there is the project we just made. So I'm going to use this. Oh, sorry, I forgot to push. Git push. Git push origin master. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. So master. We just want to run the npm run generate command. The directory is dist, and you can even set up environment variables. Say you have API credentials that you want different on the server, but we don't need that. So it's deploying. You can go in here to see what it's doing. You can see it's doing everything it needs. Okay, so its site is live. Let's check it out. And there we go, same as before. But now we have it working with our Git repo. Cool. So now I think we can set it so that every time we push, it will update it by itself. So yeah, I think it does that automatically. We'll see in a second when I update the styles and deploy it again, and we'll see if Netlify updates. Okay, so that is basically it. If you don't care about styling, then feel free to stop watching this video, but if you do, I am quickly going to make this look decent. So let's run npm run dev again. And let's open this up. Okay, so let me just style this. And let's make it a bit nicer to look at. All right, so I'm going to style this first, the h1. And let's put a class on it. Padding top of 8. Center. Oh no, I don't want to center it. Margin bottom of 8. Let's make it this big. And let's put a class on this so it's black. First off, no underline. Text black. And let's put a hover style on it. Text gray darkest. Okay, see if that looks better. Yeah, it does. Cool. And let's style these two quickly. And let's put a margin right on this. Okay. And let's style these two together. Class equals text black, no underline. Okay. Okay, looking better. And I also want a line separating the nav and the content. So let's put that. So that should be after this. Okay. And I'm just going to do border B, border solid, border gray, and B8. Okay. Okay, it looks decent. And you can put more content here. For example, you can put a summary of the post and make it look nicer, but I don't have that in my example project. But I might add it outside of this recording. I just want to style the actual blog post now, so it's decent. Okay, so I want this to be a shorter length. The optimal reading line length is somewhere around 60 to 80 characters or something like that. So I sort of want it to be in the middle, like this. So I'm going to make a new class right here in the default view. Let's call it container inner and set the max width to like 650 or something. And now in the blog post, I'm just going to do one of them. We can do something like this. Container inner margin auto and set the leading to the line height. And in here you can put the blog post title. And we also have some spacing here, MB4. And let's see how this looks. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's add some text in here. And I also want the text to be a bit larger, so it's easier to read. Say 50. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And we can just duplicate this a few times. And yeah, that's looking much better. So now, this is specific to this blog post. You can apply this to the other blog posts as well. Oh yeah, something else I forgot to show you is active links. So we say, for example, we wanted this to be a different style when it's active. So if we inspect it, Nuxt and even view, but Nuxt automatically does this and adds a Nuxt link active class to the currently active route. And we can just style this accordingly. And then when we generate it, it will take care of that for us. So let me just go back to default and add this as well. What was it called? Nuxt link active, I think. Nuxt link active. This is do font weight bold. And let's make it underline. And now that is underlined because we're on that page. This one too. And this one does too, but I don't want that one to underline. So what we can do is add another class here, .nav, and we can add that to these two right here, and they will only apply it to the elements with the nav class and not the logo. So there we go. About, sorry, I think I forgot to add, yeah, this should be a class. So now, there we go. About team, but it doesn't apply to this. Awesome. So one more optimization I want to make. If you look at the default view and the blog view, these two are repeated. So all of this is repeated. So yeah, I added some stuff in default, but that should be in blog as well. So we should extract this to a component. So what I'm going to do is just wrap this in a div because a component needs a wrapping div, and I'm about to cut this all out. Not all of it, sorry. Just this part. Yeah, just this part. So wrap this in a div, cut it out, and replace it with a component. Sorry. I want this border as well. So I'm going to put this right here. And then let's indent this. And then now I'm going to cut this out. And now I'm going to put this in a component. So let's call it main navigation. Okay. Save that. And we have to have a components key here. And so main navigation, which we will make right here. Import main navigation from components main navigation, which I will make right now. Main navigation.view template, paste that in. Let's just re-indent this, okay, and see if that works. There we go, cool. And I think I have to add it to the, yeah, to this one too. So yeah, let me just add this. So main navigation here. And it should also work for this now. And it doesn't. Oh, I have to add this. Do I have a script for here? I do not. So let me just take the whole script. And I just realized this should be called Markdown Blog and not blog. But that's fine, we'll just leave it. And there we go. Okay, so everything's looking pretty decent now. Again, I'll probably add some nicer styling to this outside of this recording. And I'll change these blog posts to look like the first one. But now we can deploy this. So I'm going to stop this. And let me just say added styles. We can get push. I think I have to origin master. Okay, so now Netlify should pick up on that, hopefully. And it should deploy it. Let's see. And there we go. After a few seconds, Netlify picked it up and updated my site. So now we have the nice styles, and we have this active link for the links, and we have the nicer styled blog post, and the Markdown still works. Awesome. So there you have it, guys. We managed to build and deploy a static site using Nuxt.js and Netlify. In future videos, I plan to look at other static site generators using Vue and compare it with Nuxt. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.